Hello, friend. In this episode, I'm going to discuss a Telegram community member's question. That question is, why is there any suffering at all? And this isn't to be just accepted blindly. This is meant to be proposed so that we examine our own experience through introspection so that we may validate this and gain this understanding, the actual understanding, not just hold the carnal-minded concept of it. So that we may know it, not just know about it. That's a beautiful blue jay. Oh my lord. Nice and close. Okay. So as Buddhism suggests, the ego, the carnal mind, is the source of all suffering. And what that means is our carnal mind's interpretation of any situation or happening is limited, lacking, and isn't a true understanding of what is going on. And because it is disconnected from the truth, which is the perfection of creation, your wholeness, your substance, your replenishment, your healing, your peace, because it's disconnected from those, it's offering you a limited perspective of suffering, of unpeace, of unhealth. So the reason there's suffering at all is because we're allowing the carnal mind to interpret any given situation, including bodily sensation in illness. Meaning, if you burn your hand, there'll be a sensation. What makes the sensation worse, and what encourages the suffering from burning your hand, is the mind state that the carnal mind encourages through the carnal mind's interpretation of. It sees it as a lack and limitation. It sees it as bad. It sees it as wrong. It sees it as not whole. But that's all a misinterpretation. It's a disconnected, carnal-minded attempt at truth, but it can never be true. The carnal mind isn't the source of truth. It's the source of misinterpretation. It's the source of suffering. And that suffering is designed to be a warning for us, to gain our attention, to make us aware that we aren't doing things in alignment. We aren't doing things in a connected manner. We aren't doing things in a peaceful manner. We aren't doing things in a truthful manner. We're unaligned, we're disconnected. However, some cultures are so unaware that they don't even recognize it as a warning, and they live their whole life being directed by that thing that's creating the warnings without recognizing that it's the source. It's the source of that warning. Can't see the forest for all the trees, not understanding. That's funny. Is a metaphor for not realizing that the ego is actually creating the suffering that you're perceiving as suffering. Interesting. So why is there suffering at all? Because we've allowed the carnal mind to interpret any situation. Why was it created? As a feedback tool to warn us of our unalignment, of our disconnection, in order to inspire reconnection. It's that simple if you can receive it. Now, if you can't already receive it, this is where self-introspection and examination is fruitful. Look at your own mind and look at your own thoughts and notice that before you suffer, there's always a mental encouragement towards that suffering. There's always a thought that precedes it that encourages you to suffer. Now, applied mindfulness would suggest, okay, I'm not going to buy into that thought that promotes the idea to suffer, that encourages suffering. I'll step aside of it, I'll let it go, and I'll deliberately use my own consciousness to think a thought that's connected and deliberate for what I would instead prefer to be moving towards and experiencing and manifesting. If we only know about these things and we don't get to the point where we're examining and applying these things, our life will be as profound as somebody who doesn't even understand these things. Because truth only transforms with application. Knowing about things isn't empowering. It's applying these things. Knowing things is a piece of it because you can't apply what you don't know. But the knowingness actually comes from within when you start surrendering everything anyways. We're a self-contained unit. Spirit's putting into my mouth. Self-contained unit. Yes, we are. So long as we don't distract ourselves from the self will make clear what the obstacles are. It'll make clear what the direction is. Rest in the stillness and allow it to guide you rather than trying to carnally make your road through this world, creating suffering by misperceiving, by misinterpreting. It doesn't take much examination to prove this truth. But until you prove it yourself through introspection, it will only be a concept. And it'll be a carnal-minded level of understanding that doesn't transcend the carnal mind. That keeps it involved. That replants it. That reinstills it, reinstalls it. Transcendence requires a different expression. Okay? So close this episode there, my friends. Have yourself a blessed day. Keep that mind blessed. Keep the mind straight. Your manifestations will be blessed. If you're inspired to have some guidance, you can contact me via the email in the description. If you're inspired to join our social media communities, the links for those are also in the description. I love you. Have an awesome day.